Be ready. We've entered a 48-hour window that cannot be repeated. The full moon on June 11th is not just another lunar phase. It marks a rare and powerful convergence of energies, truth, cleansing, and destiny-altering transformation. This is not something that happens often. The universe opens a portal, narrow, radiant, and vibrating with a frequency that calls each of us to a place where pretending is no longer possible. This moon does more than light up the night sky. It illuminates what lies beneath the surface. It reveals the places where the soul can no longer stay silent and time can no longer afford to wait. While typical full moons amplify emotion, this one activates a deep inner attunement to change that is unstoppable once set in motion. The window is already open, and anything you do within these 48 hours carries exponentially more weight. Even the smallest inner movement, a thought, a sensation, a choice, can ripple through reality more powerfully than grand gestures made at other times. It's like pressing on a point from which waves will expand outward in every direction. Why is this full moon so powerful? What's happening behind the cosmic scenes that causes space itself to tremble, drawing long-buried truths to the surface? The signals are already being felt, in the body, in dreams, in sudden intuitive flashes. Some feel them as a subtle restlessness with no clear cause. Others experience them as sudden insights or an unexplainable urge for change. But how do you tell true signs from noise? How do you recognize your personal gateway into this portal? I'll speak more on that soon. For now, the most important thing is not to miss this time. The clock has already started. These 2 days could mark a turning point after which a completely different reality begins to form. Not because you forced change to happen, but because you were inwardly ready when the moment arrived. When the moon reaches its peak, nothing can stay hidden. That's exactly what's happening now. The full moon on June 11th doesn't just stir emotions, it dives deeper, straight into the space where your real answers have been quietly waiting. It brings to light inner truths you've perhaps avoided, justified, explained away, or saved for later. But this is no longer a time for delay. The universe is no longer allowing hesitation. What once could be silenced is now echoing far too loudly to ignore. During this moment, your internal no becomes unmistakably clear. You may not always know what it's directed toward, and that's okay. What matters is the recognition itself. You might suddenly walk away from something that felt important just yesterday, or feel a powerful pull towards something you never dared embrace before. This isn't impulsiveness. It's not emotional chaos. It's a system reset. The moon in this position activates an invisible scanner, one that detects with uncanny precision what still aligns with your truth and what no longer does. You may notice you're tired of conversations that no longer energize you, of plans that no longer inspire you, of a lifestyle that no longer gives you room to breathe. That's not cause for panic. It's not a mistake. It's a signal. The world isn't falling apart. It's simply beginning to shed what no longer resonates. This is the essence of a full moon as a moment of truth. Its purpose isn't to fix you. It's to make sure you can no longer hide. It won't let you pretend things are fine if chaos is quietly brewing inside. It won't tolerate compromise if your heart has gone quiet. And if you're feeling that strange inner tension, a rising discomfort, a sense that something's out of place, trust that feeling. It could be the beginning of a way out. a way back to where your true self can finally breathe. Here's what matters. Whatever's making you feel irritated, exhausted, or strangely repelled right now, it doesn't necessarily require immediate action, but it does demand your attention. Sometimes it's enough just to acknowledge, this is no longer mine. You don't have to argue, explain, or force anything. Just name it. And that alone begins the shift. Watch yourself closely these next few days. You may suddenly realize that familiar habits no longer satisfy you, that words once spoken with sincerity now ring hollow. This doesn't mean you made a mistake in the past. It means you're changing now. And when your internal frequency updates, anything misaligned begins to fall away, naturally. Here's a vital reminder. Don't confuse discomfort with a mistake. You might feel pulled away from the familiar. You might feel fear, unease, even emptiness. That doesn't mean you're on the wrong path. It means you're stepping beyond the old. And the old will always fight to hold on, creating illusions of loss just to slow you down. But the truth revealed under a full moon, like this, doesn't demand struggle. It simply becomes too clear to deny. That's its power. Not judgmental, not destructive, but cleansing. What no longer resonates with you will leave, sometimes gently, sometimes suddenly, but always right on time. This moment is about allowing yourself to truly listen, not to what's comfortable, but to what's real. Because right now, the universe isn't asking, what do you want? It's asking a far more piercing question. What can you no longer live with? And the answer won't come from your mind. It comes from that deeper place where truth has never stopped speaking. When the universe opens this wide, there's no time to hesitate. This full moon doesn't just bring light. It brings urgency. The moon isn't just sitting in Sagittarius. It's moving through a rare and potent cosmic point where the liberating fire of Sagittarius intersects with the ancient wisdom of the star Antares. This isn't poetry. It's a celestial alignment tuned to the frequency of higher truth. And in moments like this, you cannot move on autopilot. Sagittarius is the sign of direction, sincerity, and expansive intention. It has no tolerance for confusion, mixed signals, or falsehoods. And when the moon crosses Antares, it doesn't ask for alignment, it enforces it. No room for negotiation, no subtle suggestions. It simply shuts down whatever no longer resonates. In this fusion, a raw, uncompromising energy is born. It doesn't ask for permission. It clears the path, whether you're ready or not. Which means, in these 48 hours, you face one real choice: be true to yourself or stay attached to something that's already dying. So, what do you do now? Above all, release. Even if you can't explain it. Even if you're unsure whether it's the right thing. If something no longer sparks, warms, or feels alive, it's not yours anymore. Don't wait for everything to make sense. This moment isn't about clarity of thought. It's about freedom. Take a real pause. A quiet one. No background noise. No escaping into to-do lists or socially acceptable distractions. Stop. Feel into where you no longer exist. In what roles? In what connections? In which beliefs? Sometimes, awareness alone is enough to begin unraveling the internal knot. This portal doesn't need proof. It doesn't work through external action. It responds to inner alignment. Clear your space, your home. Free it of clutter, of objects tied to outdated versions of you. Your body, clear it of tension, of the exhaustion that comes from denying your own truth. Your mind, cleanse it of thought patterns that run on autopilot. These can be small acts. Throw away old notes. Turn off your phone for an hour. Stop telling yourself, I have to, and ask instead, do I want to? But one thing is most important. Break one internal pattern. It might be small, barely noticeable. Saying yes to keep the peace. Delaying your truth for the sake of stability. Staying silent to avoid discomfort. If you know this pattern has long stopped feeling alive, then break it. Mentally, with intention, with a quiet decision. You don't need dramatic moves. You don't need to quit your job, end relationships, or pack a suitcase. Sometimes, it's enough to whisper honestly, I'm done pretending. I won't hide. I won't tolerate. I won't silence what's real inside me. And that's when the shift begins. Because this portal isn't about doing. It's about clarity. A pure, internal click of resonance that sets off a chain of irreversible transformation. The portal doesn't demand action. It demands truth. If you feel a longing for solitude these days, it's no accident. The space is making room for you to hear yourself without interference. If sudden tears arise, or waves of fatigue, or an overwhelming detachment from everything familiar, don't be afraid. That's the cleansing. That's what's been held inside finally leaving. Everything you shelved because it was inconvenient, uncertain, or not the right time. Well, this is the right time. This full moon in Sagittarius, crossing through Antares, doesn't ask you to know everything. It asks you to stop lying to yourself, even in the smallest ways. Because in those small places, the energy of the old holds on the tightest. And if you allow yourself, even for one day, to be in silence, to be in honesty, to pause without justification, the energy will begin to work for you. Sometimes, for everything to change, all you have to do is stop standing in the way. As the space clears, something deeper opens. The possibility to be filled. As this portal strips away everything that doesn't belong, it simultaneously opens the door to something far more vital. The possibility of receiving. During this phase, the full moon in Sagittarius is not only a torch revealing what's false, but a channel expanding toward what's real. It doesn't just burn away what's outdated. It unveils the horizon. And what you pour into that horizon now won't be received through words. It will be received through vibration. In these 48 hours, the portal does not respond to mind-made wants, not to I wish, not to fantasies born from fear or comparison. It is tuned only to one thing, your raw, unfiltered essence. The universe isn't listening for goals. It's attuned to resonance. So if you're trying to draw something into your life, don't start with phrasing. Start with feeling. What inside you feels alive? Where do you feel warmth, a tremble, a gentle flutter? That is your true impulse. It may not be logical. It may not be strategic. It may not make sense on paper. But you will recognize it, not because it's easily explained, but because your body responds. That deep, full body yes. If in these days an idea surfaces, a vision, a dream that fills your breath and makes your chest feel wide open, hold on to it. Write it down. Say it out loud. Whisper it in the quiet of your own presence. The moment you do, you're already aligning. You're already saying yes. And here's the key. This portal doesn't grant wishes. It reflects frequencies. It's not a reward for effort. It's a mirror for coherence. It brings you only what matches you. And resonance happens where there's no inner contradiction, where what you desire no longer conflicts with who you've become. So don't ask, what do I want? Ask instead, what inside me is already ready to happen? That question changes everything. It releases pressure. It dissolves illusion. It brings sharp focus to what actually has power. You might realize you don't want very much, that your deepest desires aren't big, public, or dramatic. They may be simple, quiet, soul deep. Clarity, meaning, freedom, the feeling of home. And if that's what surfaces, trust it. Don't compare your pulse to someone else's goals. Don't shape your longing to fit expectations. In this moment, the point is not to be impressive, it's to be true. Because right now, the space is tuning itself like a sacred instrument. And if you're out of tune, it stays quiet. But if you resonate clearly, it responds. With a sign, a meeting, a thought that appears like a whisper from somewhere beyond you. This is the real alignment. Not with strategies to bend the world to your will, but with an invitation to let the world bring in what already belongs to you. Sometimes it shows up instantly. Sometimes it takes a few days. But the seed is planted now. That's why silence matters in these 48 hours. Inner stillness allows you to hear what's already ripening. It helps you notice the voice of your real dream, not the loud one, but the strong one. The one that doesn't demand attention, but quietly pulls the future toward you. In this portal, it's not what you ask for that manifests, it's what you match. And if you can feel that match, even for a breath, everything will start to shift. Not according to your plans, but according to your resonance. Because in moments like these, desires stop being something you chase and become the path you walk from within. How do you know? It's a sign, not just noise. Remember the question from the very beginning. How do you tell a real sign from internal noise? How do you know that this is truly your entrance into the portal and not just another fleeting emotion? The answer is rarely direct. But right now, when reality becomes soft and malleable, like air before a storm, the space begins to speak. And those who know how to listen to silence start to realize it's full of meaning. Don't wait for signs in their usual forms. They rarely come as flashes or voices. More often, they arrive as subtle shifts, a barely noticeable change in rhythm within the day. You walk a familiar street and suddenly the smells seem different. You look at an old photo and notice something new. You stop mid-movement and feel as if something inside you has turned the wrong way, or perhaps finally the right one. These signs, they're not images, they're vibrations. And they come through casual words that linger longer than they should. Through gestures you find yourself repeating without thinking. Through a pause that holds not silence, but direction. It's not logic telling you where to go. It's as if the body itself now knows what it wants to face. This isn't mysticism, it's attunement. When the moon aligns with the energy of Antares, it doesn't bring outer miracles. It demagnetizes what's within. Old reactions lose their power. People you used to feel tethered to no longer spark a response. Goals you once chased lose their fragrance. This isn't loss, it's correction. You are being turned, not sharply, but like a slow shift in gravity. And if you're clinging to what was just because it's familiar, you're blocking access to what's already arriving. That's why it's so vital not to hold on. Some things disappear, not because you did something wrong, but because you no longer resonate with them. The world isn't punishing you. It's changing its tone. Everything that no longer aligns with your frequency begins to fall away. Without drama, without explanation. everything that's falling away isn't leaving you. It's leaving your new frequency. And if you feel like nothing is happening, that's an illusion. The most significant changes don't happen at the surface. They happen in the quiet, where struggle fades, where the question, "Is this right?" no longer arises, because the answer isn't verbal. It's felt. Stop seeking answers outside of yourself. Feel into the space, not its messages, but its texture. Is the air heavier? Are moments suspended in strange clarity? Is the silence now richer than the conversation? That is the invitation, delicate, almost imperceptible, but unmistakably precise. And if you let go of trying to understand and allow yourself simply to be, the space itself will show you where to turn. Not with signs or symbols, but with an internal pivot so clear that doubt disappears, because nothing from the old world can hold you back anymore. Sometimes magic doesn't look like a miracle. It feels like the end of trying to explain to yourself what no longer makes sense. And that is where everything real begins. Real change doesn't wait for perfect conditions. No real transformation ever waits for the perfect setup. All it needs is your inner consent. Consent to hear yourself, even if that voice now sounds unfamiliar. Consent to admit that the old no longer sustains you, that the path ahead demands renewal, even if you don't yet know where it leads. The portal that is open now will not return in quite the same way, not because it's some rare astronomical event, but because you will never be the same again. The space around you has already begun rewriting its settings, and if you don't resist, if you don't rush to fill the pause with urgency or doubt, it begins to guide you, not quickly, not loudly, but with precision. This night and the hours that follow aren't about taking action. They're about release. It's a time when you can and must allow yourself to step away from everything that has been draining your energy, from other people's expectations, from tired roles, from thoughts that long ago lost their flavor, and instead invite in the frequency where life begins to sound different, clearer, lighter, closer to truth. Sometimes all it takes is simply to stop interfering with the shift, and then it arrives, like light that no longer asks permission to enter.